let students and the community know, and our staff in many instances, just how many wonderful things are happening on the Bakersfield College campus. It's a dynamic place full of people doing awesome things. We have over 25,000 full-time equivalent students, and that means that we're not the Veritable, we are the melting pot in Kern County. We're the melting pot in Bakersfield. And there are all kinds of things that can arise when people enter into the higher education world for the first time. And today we're speaking with Ray Purcell, a friend of the show. And Mr. Purcell, first of all, you look wonderful. Your hair and your beard action, you're like a modern Barry Gibb. But I'll leave it at that. I don't want to be too much of a fanboy. Is college, does that sometimes bring out latent stresses or health issues that a student might not know about?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly when you're talking about full-time equivalents the way you are, it's an impressive number for a community college. And as community colleges, we think, the hard load, the rigorous load is when you get to the Cal State universities and the universities of California. That's not true. Bakersfield College has impressive rigor. And we reach out before students even come to prepare them for that academic rigor. Then from our perspective in student health is we're prepared for those experiences that they have where we can fill in the gaps, help them both physically and help them emotionally to bear up to that and succeed. That's really what it comes down to, is success. And we talk about educational equity, we talk about health equity. And I think you say it best when you say you bring what you bring to Bakersfield College and we bring the rest, and that's the definition of equity. Call me if I didn't get it correct.
No, that was pretty darn good. I feel like we should switch places. And we do bring the rest, and there's a lot of help that's available on the BC campus, but you've got to avail yourself of it. You have to say, hey, I need help.
Yeah, and that's hard because so many times stress builds slowly, and it becomes the elephant in the room.
Oh, for sure.
Before you're even prepared to address it. And so we try to take you gently out. You brought yourself gently in. Rome wasn't built in a day, as my mom used to tell me.
Yes.
And so that's the reason we provide mental health services, 6 visits a semester.
And, much like Heather, the yoga instructor, was just telling us, these are stressful times.
Yes.
And in the United States, they are stressful times for students and for employees. Technology, while it has freed us and given us a greater speed of completion for many tasks, it's also made us more available to our employers. It's made us reachable all the time.
Inescapable.
Yes, and you're barely old enough to remember this, but I remember when you used to make plans with people, and you would write it on the calendar in the kitchen, and then you'd meet them. You didn't text endlessly and change plans by 10 minutes or an hour. Or, you know what, let's meet on Thursday instead of Wednesday. And then when your dad came home from work, that was it. I remember when my dad would get called at home, that was like, whew, right?
Yeah.
That was unusual.
I miss meeting people.
Don't you?
I miss the engagement.
Oh, yeah.
That comes from face-to-face speaking.
Absolutely. No, it's and there is a lot of good that can come of that. There is, it's like handling puppies, right? Doesn't that calm you down?
Oh yeah, it brings blood pressure down, raises the endorphins, the feel-good hormones.
I have a feeling that you could probably like hypnotize people. You're almost doing it to me right now.
I have had people fall asleep on me, not when I wanted them to, but.
No, I understand that. I'm not going to fall asleep on you. You're just really putting me at ease. And you're right. We are missing a lot of face-to-face contact. And that is something that you offer in the Student Health Center. How do people take advantage of that?
Come down to Campus Center. We're in Campus Center 3. We're right in between the Renegade Rip. Love that newspaper. Mm-hmm. Put a plug in for them. And student government.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're easy to see. We put big flaggy signs out in front. We make it hard for us to miss. Be patient with us this week and this week only, because we're making an improvement to the workstations for our front office people, but we're still in business and doing what we do. We may have to go out and escort you and take you by guide. But we'll do what's necessary to
That's a very
provide
European
service.
way to handle it there. I would feel like I was in Denmark or Switzerland. Now, earlier you said that stress can be cumulative and then it can become the elephant in the room. How do we deal with it when it's just the ants in the cupboard instead of the elephant? How do we catch it when it's early? What are some of the warning signs?
Some of the earliest warning signs are really kind of on the trail to anxiety and depression. And it's not a destination ideally many people go in. In fact, they don't, because they have support. But if you find yourself becoming, or here's the feedback, somebody says, my friend, or honey, you're a little bit more snappy than usual, a little bit more irritable than usual. You find yourself drifting into the avoidance, the comfortable napping, or worst, insomnia. Sleep deprivation is such a problem for people, and it's feeding into the stress, creating a catch-22. The less you sleep, the less able you are to cope effectively with your own stress. And so it's kind of a new realization, particularly among students, and it's become part of my assessment when I talk to students. How many hours of sleep do you get a night? Usually do a little better on the weekend. Well, you can't catch up on the weekend from your weekday of insomnia.
Now, I think we could do an entire episode on this, but that isn't how it works. You can't treat your sleep like a credit card. You can't kind of run up a debt and then be like, here, we're going to tighten up the belt for a little bit and get 14 hours of sleep a day. And it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. People are trading off their hours of sleep, and they're coming out behind. A lot of emotional, gray matter, central nervous system changes occur during sleep. It's kind of like when the information technology department says, well, no, we'll be batching that at night. You're not going to be able to access your account at night. Because
that's happened a lot lately.
It has.
But we don't have very many IT problems, so that's
probably
But
we're
why.
Organic computers, and so our brains need to take that short-term memory, the experiences of the day, and make sense of them at night. That's also when we do our structural, our physiological healing. That's when our immune system rebuilds itself, increases its capacity, particularly this time of year when there's the common cold, we're coming into flu season. Not sleeping adequately decreases our resilience to resistance and resilience to illness. And so go out and get your flu shots. We're doing those now. I got to get another shameless plug in.
No, that's not shameless. The flu is like still a killer, right, globally? So
it is. It's a killer for the very young and the very old. So I oftentimes hear excuses for not getting flu shots other than, oops, I forgot, is I never get the flu. Well, you do get the flu. But if you have very young or debilitated and very old in your family, you may be taking what you think is a sniffle and mild cold. It's really influenza virus. And you're taking that in, it can still pack the same punch. It just didn't with you.
Oh, wow. So you have a robust immune system. A lot of white blood cells, I guess, or
you gotta have the right kind of white blood cells. But yeah,
oh wow,
that's the idea. We've got other exciting things coming up. We began this semester with the National College Health Assessment. Many of the students in Matt Garrett's classes, the fantastic people in athletics health, allied health. 1,500 students participated in this study to take a look at their experience of health, illness, risk, It's a broad palette assessment. We just finally got all of those enormous boxes into the mail. And so the really good news is probably December or January, we're going to have Bakersfield College's very first health report card.
Oh,
And so
wow.
we'll all have very interesting information to look at from the perceptions of Bakersfield College students, both at Panorama and in Delano. We got a good representation sample from Delano, and I'm stoked.
Oh, no, you should be. And that's something else that people forget is that we live in a huge county with a low population density, and we are pretty far flung, quite honestly. And Bakersfield College, the current community college district, manages to service that entire swath of land. So hats off to us. And I'm glad that you got a representative sample group from both the North County and then, of course, the population center here around Bakersfield. What sort of data, what sort of conclusions do you hope to reach from the?
Well, this is a very broad palette of information.
Okay.
It ranges from protective behaviors, wellness behaviors, things like Heather discussed with you about yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't think there's a question specifically about that, but it does assess sleep hours. It does assess the kinds of symptoms that are associated with stress. It does assess people's experience with anxiety, depression, both of which are large entities on campus.
Why is that?
That's a good question. It is a national experience. From the observational perspective, it's students in their early 20s, say 22, 24, where many mental illnesses start to
Manifest.
become recognizable
Mm-hmm.
in their lives, recognized by their instructors, recognized by their friends. And so this is just the time that occurs. What the academic counselors tell us on a national basis is we're seeing more and more students with primary mental health illness diagnoses and medications coming into our counseling centers, coming onto our campuses. And that's part of the environment that we exist together in.
Well, and you said you're not sure why this is a national experience, but just this past summer, I decided to learn something new as part of a function of my job. I know in my industry, which is media and communications, we've experienced tremendous change. Just in my time in the industry, from when I wrote for the Renegade Rip, everything has gone digital. I remember handwriting stories for my high school newspaper and then typing them. Ooh, that was a big step, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got a film digital scanner when I was at the Renegade Rip. Now, we don't use any of that. Now it's all computerized. Now, in fact, the expectation isn't that you'll just write, it's that you'll take photos, shoot video. You will do a job that essentially used to be covered by 3, maybe 4 people. And I think that's the same with a lot of industries, right?
Yeah. Now, that's the reason that we've also, on behalf of the student body, purchased a a subscription to an e-zine. So yes, we're all into digital, and there's Student Health 101. So please go to your Bakersfield College webpage,
BakersfieldCollege.edu.
go to your student services, and look for the Student Health HRL?
URL.
You are okay. I'm going to slip on the tech stuff.
No, that's okay. And then I'm going to ask Shannon if she can go ahead and maybe put that on Facebook. I bet she could probably do that. So
periodically, she has been. If you look at Bakersfield College Student Health has a Facebook page. You can access Student Health 101 from there. You can access it from our webpage. You can access it from your smart devices. And Student Health 101, like I said, is a health and fitness magazine. You'll find nutritionally sound, very yummy food alternates to the fast food that a lot of students tell me, boy, I just don't have that time. No excuses anymore. Wonderful recipes. very good and good for you recipes,
did you eat-
affordable food.
Did you eat a lot of fast food when you were a younger man? Because you look great.
Not a choice when I was a younger man. There simply wasn't the availability of fast food. Yeah, Burger King was around, McDonald's was around, but they weren't on every street corner.
My uncle was telling me and my uncle he's got to be getting close to 60 actually, but he said he remembered when there was one pizza place in town, and that was like a wild novelty. He was like, man, now I have an app on my phone. I can get pizza 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. So that's another thing that has changed for today's students is the abundance of horrible food choices.
High calorie.
Sure.
And not the right calories.
Right.
Not the diverse, rich, powerful, nutrient-packed, nutrient-dense is what our nutritionist friends like to call it.
Yes, and the penalty also is something that we couldn't realize until later in life, right? When you have diabetes or...
Well, they're habits that are very hard to break. What we eat, why we eat is complex. Think about that as we go into Thanksgiving, one of the most social eating experiences of the year. We drive all over the country to get to a social eating experience.
Right, with people that we only choose to see once a year.
There's maybe a reason. In my family, there could be a reason for that.
Yes, that's also an American phenomenon. Well, Mr. Purcell, you are a very accessible person. You've always been generous with your time, and we would recommend that a student is concerned about their health would come see you. And if you're not able to provide the help, you'll certainly refer them or point them in the right direction.
We are going to be working with, this year we're going to be working with Omni Health, and they're going to be sending counselors on campus. We are trying to facilitate bridging to the Affordable Care Act so that students who come to the health center and need that bridge to more sophisticated or more extensive healthcare resources will have that.
And the best time to start taking care of your health was obviously 10 years ago. But the next best time is today.
Right
tomorrow.
now.
Right now. There you go. That's an even better
It's
answer.
not about what you've done. It's about what you're going to do and how we can help you get there.
I should have Ray on the show once a week. Always an inspiration. Mr. Purcell, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, I got to put in a plug. This is National Nurse Practitioners Week.
Oh.
So go nurse practitioners, all my colleagues out there, you rock.
No, you absolutely do. They're a critical part of the American healthcare system, nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. And that's a good career to get into, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot of students. I'm super stoked about them coming in, and they're telling me, well, I'm going into the EMT program, but that's so I can get into physician assistance programs.
Aging population, they're going to need health care, and you can be a part of that. And I think you can make like 6 figures right out of school. So
it's good. I won't complain about the salary.
You heard it here. Career advice, health advice. Mr. Purcell has it all. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. We are going to continue discussing ways that you can improve your life and feel better and make the most of your Bakersfield College experience. People ask, how do I get out in 2 years? Well, first of all, you plan, you select the right classes, but you also take care of yourself. There's more coming up on Success and Equity on BCTV. Don't go anywhere.